Take two. So this is titled Seasons in the Sun, which, if you've never seen or never heard the song, it is We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. It's a song that has upbeat tempo, but it's also one of the most depressing songs ever written because it's basically about a guy who's about to die, and his wife was cheating on him, and he lived a horrible life, and now but he was happy once, and so he's trying to remember the one time he was happy earlier in life. Wow, that's an upbeat song. Um, and I was interested to find out that it is tied to a French song called La Moribunde, which, of course, if it's depressing with upbeat music and artistic, it has to be French. It just has to be. That's kind of how this stuff works. So anyhow, that's the mood I'm in, so that's the right title for this day. Moving on. The Hawks over the weekend played and lost, but they made it to the Elite Eight, which was incredible. Like, as a Hawkeye fan, it doesn't get better than what happened this weekend or over the past week. They made it so much farther than anybody gave them any credit to do, including myself. Let's be clear. Yeah. But this article brings up the time back in 1980 when they made it to the final to the final four. And I, I was a young Hawkeye fan, and this just I remember exactly where I was when they made the last shot and what anyhow. Um yeah. Anyhow, I'm done bragging about the Hawkeyes. That's not why anybody comes here. I need to point out something here. CNN did this story about the Jeddah port offers a supply chain lifeline to the Persian Gulf as Hormuz closes traffic. And so what they're trying to say is that because Jeddah a has a way to get out to to they have a way to get out to the east, therefore it's they don't need to go to the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi's got a way around. Yay! Except it's not a lifeline because Iran has now engaged the Houthis into this war, and the Houthis have kept the major container ships from basically going through the Suez Canal. And so, if you take out the Suez Canal ability to connect to the West and connect to Europe, connect to everything else, then they have to go around all of Africa, which means it's not much of a lifeline at all. So, uh, CNN, this headline's wrong. Um, I know you mean well, but it's wrong. Speaking of wrong, U.S. intelligence is willing to admit now that in Ecuador, they bombed a dairy farm thinking it was a drug camp. So this is totally unrelated to anything that's going on with the war in Iran, but the US government bombed in Ecuador, which is in South America, to be clear, nowhere tied to the current issue, that US intelligence got it wrong. What made this interesting to me was that it was the New York Times who did the story. In the run-up to the Gulf War in 2003, the New York Times had a journalist by the name of Judy Miller, who she posted all this intelligence proof that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. They had these gas containers and things like this, which everything she reported was false. And because it came from the New York Times, it had a gravitas that punched way above its weight. The New York Times doesn't get it wrong that often. And so, one of my mistakes in life is the fact that I supported the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, while my father was just absolutely irate that I could be that stupid. Dad, you were right. I was wrong. I listened to Judith Miller. I listened to Secretary of State Colin Powell, but you were right all along, and I apologize, Dad. Over the weekend, there was an No Kings rally, and millions of people across the United States, millions of people across the world showed up. A fantastic turnout. And it was interesting to me to watch the response online. all the best they could come up with. The because I love of course you know that I've come to love trolling the MAGA crowd. I live for it. I love it. But the best I could come up with was we don't have a king. There is no king. What about and they try to throw out but Biden tried to force us to get a vaccine, so he's the real tyrant. Trump gives us freedom. Wow. I mean, in all truth, compared to the earlier No Kings rallies, this one, the MAGA crowd really isn't even trying that hard to defend him. Like it was a lame defense. But more important to that, as important as the increased number of people going to the rallies, is the fact that I'm not the only one trolling the MAGA crowd. It is across the board. I'm going to like the big news sites, AP News, Bloomberg, Reuters. I'm going to the CNN, Fox News. Even on Fox News, people are making fun of Trump. Fox News, okay, it's probably more making fun of my side, but still, compared to previous rallies, wow, you can absolutely get the sea change. And also, because I have enough MAGA friends, I'm just watching what they're posting on their walls. And they're kind of like not posting any on their walls. They're trolling other people's walls. Not mine this time, which I'm happy for, but yeah. I don't yeah. President Trump over the weekend admitted that he likes bootlickers. He said, I like people that like to listen to my success. I like people that like to listen to my success. I don't know what to say about that. For the record, I definitely know a number of people in academia who do the same thing, that, their students are captive and they feel the need to brag to their students nonstop. And those are always teachers who are horrible. Just, do I brag to my students? I guess. I don't know. I've never once had that as a comment on my evaluations, but I have read enough evaluations of enough faculty members because they made it available so we could read everybody's evaluations. Anyhow, I read enough evaluations that a number of my colleagues over the years have had that comment that, oh, this professor only wants to brag about. Yeah, no, actually, it has been men and women. I was going to say only men, but yeah, no, it's both men and women. They like to brag about their previous accomplishments, and I'm not here for that. I don't do that. So sometime I'll have to look up what are my most negative comments. I don't remember. I've whatever, but it's not that. But Trump loves bootlickers. That's the point of this. I love so um, Tom Tillis is a senator from North Carolina, and he is resigning. I mean, he's just not running for reelection. And so Trump, Trump, this analysis from CNN, which, groundbreaking analysis from CNN. Trump keeps saying nobody knew or expected things lots of people knew or expected. And unrelated to this story analysis from CNN, there was an interview with Tom Tillis, a Republican retiring senator, who was asked pretty much exactly, what he thinks of Trump and why he's willing to speak out now when he wasn't willing to speak out before. And he's like, and the reporter said, "Are you willing to do this because you're no longer running for re-election?" And he paused and said, "No shit, Sherlock." And I laughed hard. I was like, dude, um, that's the best response possible. Thank you, buddy. Um, let's be clear about this. President Trump has a goal to screw over blue states. He didn't do it in his first term, but in his second term, he is actively denying requests for money. So when disasters happen, he's actively denying requests for money that would be going to blue states. This is the first president ever to do this. When a disaster happens, we're all Americans. That's supposed to be how this works. But Trump has decided if you're from a blue state, screw you. Um, okay. So first take this in. This picture is a bunch of Persians, meaning Iranians in America. And so the shirt the guy in the middle is wearing is Persians for Trump, keeping America great, says his shirt. Okay? Now, before I go to the next slide to do some analysis on this, it's worth noting that some of the worst politics in America is due to the Cuban Americans. The Cuban Americans hold both parties hostage because both parties want to win Florida, and they'll never vote for Democrats a lot, but Clinton was able to get enough of them that Clinton was able to cover the state, carry the state. Obama was able to get enough of them that Obama was able to carry the state. But other than those two, the Cubans have now gone 100% all in with Trump, and so yeah, they are the Cuban Americans are probably the most MAGA group out there now, besides the evangelical Christians. So, a friend of mine, I was discussing this with a friend of mine who knows more about foreign policy than I'll ever know. And so he gave me this quote. He said, "The Iranian diaspora is as dangerous as the Cubans. The Iranian diaspora is as dangerous as the Cubans." So when it comes to the politics, and again, he's not an American, he's watching this from outside. And the point he's trying to make is that as much as the Cubans have destroyed politics in America, which they have, the Cuban Americans are both parties need to suck up to them, has desperately hurt politics in America. The Iranian, and diaspora is just not a word I am normally used to saying, but it's the Iranians in America. They are as dangerous, if not more dangerous, as the Cubans. And so I appreciate my friend for bringing it. I had not connected those dots. And when he said it, it was one of those like light bulb moments. And I was like, oh, you were so right. You were so right. What's percolating in my mind? What's going on in my world? Um, I am thinking about why Iowa matters. I will get a post about that out there. I also have a post I want to do about the trauma that weather brings because last week was traumatic. I also have something called the Gini coefficient. I'm going to give you a little preview on this. The Gini coefficient is how much income inequality there is in a country. And spoiler alert, going back to France, right now in America, we have income. If you're not aware, the French had a revolution where they killed the king and they became a republic um, because of the incredible wealth inequality. The super rich lived great lives and the peasants lived horrible lives. And so the peasants rose up, killed the king, and France has been a republic ever since. We have greater wealth inequality in America now, in the latest data, than France had before the revolution. That's incredible. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this information, how I will use it in the future, but I like to end on a happier note than the song I started with, which is that it's a bittersweet symphony. That's the song I love. Um, it's a bitter Life is a bittersweet symphony. I'm not going to sing it for you, but it's one of my favorite songs. There is a slide that I know I missed. And why is it not here? Oh, I guess I missed a couple of slides. Sorry. Stephen Colbert is going to be writing Lord of the Rings, which is great. Only Stephen Colbert. Nobody knows more about Lord of the Rings than Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert's two of his brothers, two of his family members, and his dad died when he was very young. And so Stephen went into the world of the Tolkien world and just absorbed it all. And so there is nobody on the planet who knows more about Lord of the Rings than Stephen Colbert. So the fact that he's going to write the next Lord of the Rings movie, awesome. Awesome. And so this is my last slide. Uh, so what you're seeing here is Cujo in the foreground, and then a mini garden in front of my apartment on Mulberry Street. This mini garden was maintained by a guy who lived in this complex, but he was deported by the same woman who attacked and has put my friend in jail. Let that go, Steve. I am not, I do not, as a young lad, so now you've seen the picture. Now I want to end this share and to end this program. I do not have a green thumb. Uh, I am Joyce through and through, and Mom knew how to kill plants faster than anybody you've ever met, which is a great irony given the fact we grew up on a farm and Dad was actually really good at growing things. Uh, when it came to growing things, my sister Kathy went on to become, I believe her title is called Master Gardener. She knows everything. So I went out and the plants lived last week because we got a lot of rain, so the plants were fine. But today I went out and gave them 50 liters of water, about 13 gallons, I guess. And that will keep them going for a couple of days. In the meantime, I'll find out if anybody else in this complex wants to take care of the plants. If not, I will hopefully get on a Zoom with my sister so she can tell me what I do with these plants because I don't even know what half of them are. You know, I recognize the tomato plants and there's some melons, recognize that, but the rest of them, I'm not even sure. There's some peppers or some whatever, but it's not even pepper plants like we grow in Iowa. So I'm not even sure what's in there. So, but I know Kathy will know, and so that will be something on my agenda moving forward. Um, yeah, it is Monday, and so I had a lot of things to cover, but I will simply end with where I'm ending it over the last couple of days. I still do not know where Cecilia is right now, so please say a prayer for her. Back to Bittersweet Symphony. It can't end on a sad note. See you tomorrow.